Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to my Spanish Grand Prix preview. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't generally look forward to this Grand Prix. We don't often get a huge amount of on-track action. It's a weekend that pretty much sees quite a lot of focus on strategy. And that, of course, all comes down to just how well the teams know this track. In fact, drivers do generally say that out of all the races on the calendar, this is the track where the driver makes the least difference. Having said all that, 2017, it wasn't actually too bad of a Grand Prix. We got some great scrapping up front between Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. We'd love some more of that this weekend, please, and throughout the rest of the season, to be honest. And of course, we also got a shock result for Sauber Pascal Wehrlein picking up points, which, to be fair to him and Sauber, was just a brilliantly played strategy. Let's look back at some of the facts from last year's Grand Prix weekend then. Lewis Hamilton took pole position on the Saturday with a lap time of a 1:19.149. He also went on to win the race after, as I was saying earlier, some great scrapping with Sebastian Vettel, and delivered the fastest lap of the Grand Prix with a 1:23.593. But the driver of the day went to Sebastian Vettel. From what I remember, it was pretty much down to obviously how well he drove during the Grand Prix as a whole, but also because of just how well he defended against Lewis Hamilton. One driver who will be hoping to deliver a good result this weekend is Carlos Sainz. Of course, it is his home Grand Prix. And if you take Baku out of the equation, he hasn't had a particularly brilliant start to the season, particularly versus his teammate. But I have got the feeling that this weekend will be a good weekend for him. Like I say, home Grand Prix, that is worth some time. I don't know if it's worth the 2/10 that some drivers claim it is, but there is definitely something there to be gained. But having listened to some of the drivers this weekend, one thing I've felt is that nobody really knows where they're going to be. Of course, there are big updates coming this weekend, but that's not the only reason. And Carlos Sainz alluded to it in today's press conference. He was talking about how obviously the track is completely different now it's been resurfaced. And although there is a lot more grip and of course therefore the track is quicker, what he found during winter testing, and I seem to think that some drivers said it at the time as well, was that it was a lot harder to get the balance right in the car and get that car set up exactly how he wanted it to be set up. So that's something to keep an eye on during practice and listen out on team radio for. I've got a feeling that we're going to see quite a few drivers struggling early in the weekend, which is fine, because that could mix things up quite nicely. The track itself is 4.655 kilometres long, or if you prefer miles, 2.892. There will be 66 laps on Sunday, and that translates to a race distance of just over 370 kilometres or 190 miles. As I said at the start of this video, I'm not a huge fan of the Spanish Grand Prix. I don't generally look forward to it, but even less so since they reprofiled that final sector. I much preferred how it used to be, and those changes were initially made in a bid to improve overtaking at the circuit. Adding to what I was saying earlier about strategy being key over the course of the Spanish Grand Prix weekend, the tyres available to the teams are the medium, the soft and the super soft. With Ferrari once again going aggressive versus Mercedes on their tyre choice. They're taking 7 sets of the super softs, whereas the Mercedes drivers have selected 5 and Red Bull are coming right in the middle there on 6, as are Force India. The most aggressive driver in terms of tyre choice was Sergei Sorokin. He's gone with 10 sets of the super soft tyres. Now, as I said in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix preview, I'm not going to be talking too much about the press conference. It's something you guys weren't really enjoying in the videos. But before we jump into the one to watch and predictions, I did just want to briefly touch on a couple of things that Fernando Alonso said during today's presser. Obviously, as we know, McLaren are bringing their B-Spec car to the Spanish Grand Prix, and he was asked in that press conference what he expected from the updates, to which he simply said, a faster car. As simple as that from Fernando Alonso. What more do you need to know? But he was also asked about his future and whether the fact that it's unlikely he's going to win races with McLaren this year, is he looking away from Formula One in terms of next year? And he had a little bit more to say on that question. He said, I'm happy with the progress we did here at McLaren and with the direction everything is going for the future. So I'm happy here, and obviously I'm happy with the endurance attempt as well. The biggest thing here is how predictable everything is. We can put in the paper now what will be the qualifying here on Saturday, what it will be in Monaco, Canada and Silverstone. So that's something you need to take into account for future decisions. This is sad in a way for Formula One, the direction that everything went. So I think what we can take from that is everything's up in the air when it comes to Alonso. He is considering his future at the end of this season. He's not happy with the way Formula One is at the moment. And if we're all being completely honest, it's unlikely that he'll still be in the sport when we get the rules reset. So if he's not happy with the way Formula One is, and it looks as though although some changes are being made, not enough is going to change in the short term, we could be losing the double world champion at the end of this season. Let's hop on then to my weekend one to watch, and in a similar vein to Carlos Sainz, I'm going to go with Esteban Ocon. As a whole, he's not had a great start to the season, just 1 point on the board versus his teammates 15, okay. That all came in the last race, but still, that's a podium for his teammate, and I genuinely believe that has put huge pressure on Ocon, not just for this weekend, but for the rest of this season. It is very early days, of course, there is still a long way to go, and that Force India car is improving at each weekend. And of course, as with everybody else, they are expected to bring upgrades for the Spanish Grand Prix. But if McLaren deliver the big improvement that they're talking about, and Renault manage to improve as well, it is unlikely that Ocon, unless we have a crazy Grand Prix, is going to get anywhere near the podium this weekend or possibly at all this season. But I do get the gut feeling that he and his teammate Sergio Perez are going to be pretty inseparable this weekend and probably for the rest of the season, as we saw last year, of course. But I have also got a feeling that this weekend Esteban Ocon will add to his points tally. Before we move on to my predictions, let's have a look at yours. Of course, I posted my usual polls on Twitter. I asked you who you thought would get pole position and who you believed would win the Grand Prix. And 48% of you believe that Sebastian Vettel will take pole this Saturday, 27% for Lewis Hamilton, 6% for Bottas, and 19% for other. In terms of the race, 40% of you think that Vettel will convert pole into the win. That is more often than not what happens in Spain, to be fair. Hamilton got 28%, 14% from Raikkonen, 18% for other, with Bottas being one of the mentioned names. As for my predictions, I don't disagree with you. I think that Sebastian Vettel will take pole on Saturday. I believe Ferrari have got the fastest car. And this is a big weekend because this will show us pretty much what the definitive running order is. Of course, there's going to be development through the course of the season, but Spain doesn't generally steer us too wrong in terms of where everybody is. And I also believe that he will convert that into victory on Sunday, with the podium being made up of Bottas and Hamilton. And as you can see there, I'm not predicting any safety cars and maybe 4 retirements, probably all for mechanical issues, unless we get a first corner like we got last year, of course. They are, of course, just my thoughts and my opinions, but what are yours? Who do you think will take pole position on Saturday? Who's going to go on and win the race? And who are your top 3 for Sunday's Spanish Grand Prix? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will be back on Saturday with the qualifying roundup, of course, and don't forget to join us this Sunday, around an hour and a half after the Grand Prix finishes, for our live race debrief. Hopefully we'll get as much to talk about as we did for Bahrain, China and Baku. In the meantime, now you can follow me on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook and Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.